Welcome, family, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Indijeroo Podcast. So, today we
Yay.
have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guest, a sister that is just so full of love and so full of life. And she is joining us for our Mindful Living series to talk a little bit about her mindful creativity. So, I want you to join me in welcoming Mama Ananda Free. Welcome.
Hey, peace, everybody. Thank you for
Hey,
having me. Hey,
you are welcome. I'm so glad you are blessing us. So, can you do me a favor and share
sure.
with the people who you are and what you do?
Oh my goodness. So my name is Ananda Free. I'm trying to find something to do with my hands. My name is Ananda Free, and I am most of the time a joyful human being that does my best to live life from my most authentic, radiant, loving self-expression. Artist, creative, I'll say channel for good, um, a mama, a wife, also a priest in the African traditional religion, um, author. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Baker, I like to bake.
Yes, you do, honey. Yes, you do. So, welcome. I wanted to, first of all, as I thought about people um, who are mindful in their expression and how they walk through this world, certain people came to mind. And
Mm.
so when I was thinking about you and the different iterations that
Right.
I've seen, you express your creativity. I'm like, okay, you can share with people some tips and some insight about mindful living. And so I just wanted to spend a little bit of time interviewing you and talking with you. Really, it's not an interview, honey. We just talk like we talk.
I know that's
Um,
right.
but just sharing with us some insights. And so I wanted to ask first if you can remember. Do you remember when you began to be intentional about um, curating your creativity or being aware of a mindful relationship that you had as you were creating?
Yeah, I would say it started back in 2004, 2005, and I was just coming off this like hellacious roller coaster ride with bulimia. And
Mm,
I kept seeing the goddess, the like ancient goddess symbol,
mhm.
with the hands up and then the breast and then the hips. I kept seeing that, and I felt like I wanted to paint that because I felt like that's how I was shaped. And I would see that, and I would go into little metaphysical stores. I'd see that symbol with the spiral in the womb, and I felt really called and connected to that symbol. So I started painting it, but it was really for my own healing. And so what had actually started happening was I had friends that would come by my house and they would see different things like the Om symbol or the goddess symbol, different things I painted, and they started buying my paintings off my wall.
Mm.
And that was like 2006. And then like not even 6 months later, I was doing my first like it was a 2 day exhibition
Oh,
at
wow.
at a gallery in Baltimore. It was called the Rocco Gallery, and by then I was painting a lot of Venethic, um, ancient goddess symbols through my lens, how I viewed the woman's body, and through that, it never really dawned on me till later on that I had been painting myself in all these different, you
Mhm.
know, just trying to getting to the meat and potatoes, if you will, or tofu and potato, whatever. Getting to the depth of it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So it's been since 2005, 2006, and we're like, what is this, 15, 16 years later, something like this.
And
So
so as you talk about, because I was thinking about it even being connected with bulimia and maybe how you viewed yourself.
Mhm.
And when I think about the image, I know what you're talking about. It is this very voluptuous, curvaceous, bountiful
Yeah.
woman. And so, how has that been a part? How has even the creativity been a part? Like, okay, you were mindfully creating in that space, but how did that contribute to your healing in that period and being able to actually see yourself properly?
um I think that was just, you know, in all honesty, I mean, I don't know who I was going to hear this, but I'm going to be as layman as I can be, but be honest with the words that I know. As best as I can describe, what that did was it opened up a portal for my healing, whereas the art actually guided my healing, which guided me to practicing West African tradition, which one of the goddesses, deities I'm initiated to is bountiful, abundant, you know, Ashun. That's how she's shaped. That's how she is, dark skin, big breasts, big hips, roundness of a belly. And so throughout this time, it was like the art has just, it was like a calling me home. It called me to myself. It called me to a deeper space of healing. And so now in my, like right here, like this piece right here, I make these goddesses as well.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
what it has done for me, and the really big one is behind me holding the phone up, but what it has done for me is it reminded me how I've been really, and how we all, a lot of what people who identify as women or who are born as women and identify as women, how we are the divine mother in these bodies and doing certain in certain incarnations and doing certain work, like the work you do as a songstress and as a doula and as a healer and as all the magical, mystical, very precise ways in which you move. That's the divine holy mother moving through you, right? And so with me, with the art, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not to get all out there and be all, you know, but I feel like that I had to tap into that. And the deeper I go with that, the more abundance of creativity just springs forth in a way that I was never looking for hardly any of the things that have manifested to even happen. It just comes out of me.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
No, it does. And I love that because, you know, in the Western culture, there's a temptation to box ourselves in and to compartmentalize. And you know, I'm actually grateful now of the term creatives versus like, no, I do visual art and I am this artist and this da, da, da. Like it's so specific, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, but is there any space for expression to just come out in a different
Right.
way that
Right.
might be needed in this phase and in this season and this iteration of yourself? Like
Mm.
maybe it's not visual. You know, having gone through a season as well where, and I go through this off and on and I try to pay attention to it, but working metal. Like I was doing copper work for a season because I really needed to be like with that earthy energy and having
Yes.
my hands be, you know, people like, you were doing what? I'm like, yes, I'm clanking and working this metal. And then that season was gone. And I love how you said it guided you to like what you needed, and sometimes it's gentle and soft and sometimes it's more intense and hard. And um, what are some ways outside of the visual art you talked about? You just showed us that beautiful piece. My goodness, that was gorgeous. Um, but what are some other ways that your creativity has sprouted out? Now, you know, I and first off, I can't even find my t-shirt, but from back in the day when she's talking about, that was my joint, that the upside down shop with the bright blue and the yellow. Oh my goodness, like I really don't even know where that t-shirt is and I'm a little sad about that. But what are some ways over the years and through your healing journey that creativity has manifested itself?
Oh, uh, three beautiful kids. um, which I enjoyed conceiving greatly. And
Okay.
um, right, my first book is like, it was called How to Make a Love Cake.
Mm-hmm.
And the second, and I'll show, I have it right here. This is the first book, How to Make a Love Cake. And this came out in 2015. And that's actually kind of like a science fiction-y fantasy memoir about my life. And it guides through like healing, and there's deities, and there's spirit guides and angelics in it. It's a ride. It's a really good book. I started reading it again. I was like, oh, that's actually really good. Well, what do you know?
I did that, huh?
And then my most recent book. My first children's book is called Yay Sweetwaters and the Mean Mermaids. And Cheryl Ross Tuesday did the illustrations. And this book is really, I think it's really awesome. It's about this ancient underwater city in ancient Yoruba land. Mm-hmm. And Yeye Sweetwaters is like the Papa Smurf of mermaids, and it's her city. And and the name of the city is called the City of Sweetness, or Ilu Aladun. And there's other mermaids that live there. And there's 5 particularly in this story. Oh, and she has a best friend. Let me show you one of the pictures. So I don't know if you see. So right there, you see her in her luxurious long golden tail.
Yes.
And then next to her is her best friend, Puff Puff. And that's a fairy. You see her?
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. With the golden wings.
Yes, with the golden wings. Yes. And so they're in the city, and one of the mermaids is having a really bad day. Her name is Omitola, and they find her crying in seaweed, like right here.
That is beautiful illustration, by the way. My goodness.
Yes, she did an amazing job.
Yes.
And one of the things is that she was really, really sad because her friends actually decided to gang up on her that day and mock her and tease her about her tail, her fin.
Oh, okay.
And it just goes on about how in community, sometimes you face that. You'll face people who are jealous of you. And see, there's diverse mermaids. There's one that's chocolate with a pot belly, and one with red hair, and other one that has locks and glasses. But ultimately, it's a story of friendship, betrayal, healing, forgiveness, redemption, and really community serving as a container for deep healing and reflective work. And even if somebody wanted to take it for the shadow work, right? Mm-hmm. And how when we are aware, when we come to awareness about the certain things that we have going on, that we can take ownership of those things and give those things permission to go on about their business, to release those things, and really pour into ourselves in a way in which it's no one else's responsibility to do that. That's only our job. If somebody else comes and pours into us, it's addition. It's not the sum total. So,
Amen. Yeah. No, that's and I love that. So I know you described it as a children's book, but I know that everything that you're talking about, it really is, it transcends generations and ages, and those are stories where it's like, depending on your upbringing and your childhood, you may or may not have gotten that level of development or those lessons. And so those are things that can always be cultivated and applied, and lessons learned, no matter how you get the lesson. So thank you for writing that story in that way, so that the potency of the lesson can transcend generations.
Absolutely. And I say, when people ask me the age range, I thank you for reminding me that, because I'll say children's book because it's easy to say that. Mm-hmm. But I really look at it as an illustrated self-help book. Yeah. But there's no genre for that yet.
Yeah.
But it's from 0 to 99. And I feel like it's to anchor in these valuable lessons and truths for our children, mm-hmm. so they can get like, why bullying, why ostracizing, why envying other people is not what's up. And if
Mm-hmm.
those things come up for you, there's ways in which it can be worked out without inflicting harm onto people that we care about or maybe don't even know like that, right?
Right.
And then it's a reminder for the adults to work their stuff out.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. And it's
because
a
a lot of
beautiful reminder because it's like with seasons and everyone being on their particular journeys, anything could come up at any
mhm,
time. You know, this may be a harder season, and you may be surrounded by people that seemingly or appear to be in more prosperous and light seasons. And so when you are feeling, you know, why me or envious or whatever the case may be, it's important to be reminded that we all go through those seasons and there
mhm,
are things that are important and to be cultivated in those seasons so that we
mhm,
can move forward and
mhm,
enjoy, you know, next
mhm.
levels in different seasons with a prayerfully a more open heart.
Absolutely.
So you have three children, three
Yes.
beautiful children, and as a mama who
Okay.
is constantly doing the work, you are growing and evolving, you are expressing and emoting. What do you want your children to learn from observing you in this space?
That is such a great question. I think about that every day. And when you ask them, like, what do I say? But really, um, and it's making me emotional. I want my children to, first of all, just observe that I do my best to live my life without limits. Like,
Ashe.
I don't, I do my best not to impose any other limits that I had done when I was younger. Most of them are burnt up now. Um, and to, I was labeled learning disabled when I was in school. So
Mm.
when I was young, so about a month ago, I was crying at the fact that I would have never thought that I would have started a toy company versus let alone written books. Like I would have never thought that. But it started with the painting. It started with the art show here. It started with the live painting. It started with the I was like, well, I can do this. I can do this. And people actually like it. Oh, well, that's even a bigger plus that people like it. But for them to know that I have done my best to be an example of them of just like resilience,
Yeah.
you know? Like they can never say that mommy gave up.
Ashe.
And I want them to know that. Like the house might be a freaking mess. It might have, because I am definitely not Martha Stewart up in this piece, but nor do I want to be. But you know what I mean? Like, but it feels like an artist home. They definitely have an artist parents. Um, and we allow them to explore and to no matter what age you are, to always see the wonder in life.
Yep. Amen. I love that. And I it's I think I asked that question. I only really have asked that question to certain people, but the intentionality about having a thought and being mindful of what you want, um, would like, hope your
Yeah.
legacy to be, and what your children observe, that takes a level of mindfulness that not every parent, not every person has. But it's so important because it guides how you walk through your day.
Mm,
Um, does not mean you're going to be perfect, but
right.
when you're like, okay, I want to show my children resilience. I want to show them how I have fought to be where I am and to continue to grow and heal. That's gonna be ugly sometimes, and there's this misnomer that when we want our children, like, what do you want? I want my children to see me as this elevated, perfect being, where if you're really, intentional and mindful, you want them to see the process.
Yeah.
You want them to see the highs, the lows, the in-betweens. You want to be able to cry in front of them if it's that kind of a day. And let them
Mm-hmm.
wipe your tears just as you would wipe theirs when they're feeling and having one of those low days, because that's the reciprocity of, like, that's how they learn how to even do that and be that
Mm-hmm.
in relationship. And so I really appreciate when people actually have an answer to that, because it takes a certain level of awareness and mindfulness to be able to even answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you say,
Right.
it's whatever you want it to be, but the level of intentionality is so important when we're thinking about the legacy that we're leaving. Like, there's a legacy of freedom to be who you are and be who you were
Mm-hmm.
created to be.
Yes.
And so that always is like, okay. So when it comes to your newest book, Yay Yay Sweetwaters, and the Mean Mermaids, what was your inspiration that even sparked this particular this particular form of creativity, this particular book?
I was washing dishes on a Thursday night towards the end of August 2019, and I promise you, I heard Yay Sweetwaters. That's what I heard. And then I saw something that looked like a doll. And I was like, well, I wouldn't just do a doll. Okay, who is she? And then over the course of the next week, I got the download of the book. I wrote it, and that's pretty much what it was. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted, as 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 she was being more revealed to me in the story, I wanted to have my daughters as a part of it, so they would see themselves as mythical uh type beings, which they actually are kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I know that's
but
right.
Yay Sweetwaters is the caricature illustration of our second oldest. And then Puff Puff is our third, our, our youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And we used their face for that because I wanted them to see themselves. It was important for me. Now I have to write subsequent books with mer boys because my son's not going to let me live this one down.
Mm-hmm.
So his father wrote a book called Mobutu's Mangoes, and he was going to use his face in the book. That's not good enough for my Aries son. So it's okay. We can have him
Oh, he
learn to be
needs
a
two
merboy.
books. One from mom, one from the everybody needs to acknowledge me. Okay?
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Can I show you the mermaids?
Yeah.
Okay. So you all, this we launched a toy company called Weird Wonders. And Weird Wonders, our tagline is where imagination and innocence thrives. And so these are our first rollout um, characters. I don't know if you can see their face. This is
Yeah.
Yeye Sweetwaters and all of her tail goodness. It's her body. And then this is Omi Boye, aka Juniper. And so these are our rollout products
I
for the
love it.
product line. And we just felt like it was important for all children, but especially children of color. They deal with so much adultification, hypersexualization, just exposure to things that they don't get to be exposed to that.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that our children get to maintain their innocence and their wonder for as long as they get to. And for those children who do suffer trauma, abuse, emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, and spiritually, I feel like Weird Wonders is an answer to that call of coming in and putting a balm
Yeah.
with these characters and creatures, because we got a lot coming for y'all, you know, so our children can feel that, because I'm a survivor of sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself at 16 years old that I wouldn't let the hatred and cruelty in the world make me bitter. And that has been something that has stayed with me for a long time. And only recently had I remembered that. But I made that promise to myself. And so far, it's not going to happen because I promised myself that. And that's also how I can create, because I still live in the wonderment of life.
Exactly.
I still have that, even though things happened to me, there was a part of me that they couldn't take or touch. And I didn't let anybody take that or touch that.
And what you just reminded me of when you're talking about that is like it's the wisdom of innocence, you know? Like the innocence that was left, that was protected, is the
Yes.
part that made the promise
Yes.
that you kept.
Yes.
And the innocence of, these gems that come out of our children's mouth at, as early as they start talking, the source
Right.
of that is the same. It's still like the wisdom of innocence. There is no, it's not contrived, it's not manipulated, it's just pure.
Mm,
And most of the time it's fairly real. No matter how uncomfortable it may be. Um,
exactly.
but it resonates deep. Those pinky promises are everything. Like they
Yes,
mean
they are.
everything uh,
Yes.
at those ages. And to hear how like your innocence making a pact with your soul
Mm,
and saying no, you will be preserved, and having
mm.
that be the place that your creativity has been able to thrive and survive from is powerful.
Yeah, I think it's pretty dope. I mean, like I said, I didn't remember. Only recently had I remembered it, and I felt like I was at a place where I was like, sometimes these grungies, these insecurities, things like that come up when you're doing a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, who are you to do this? And who are you to launch this? Like, I like a good drink every now and again. I love spending time with my boo. There are times that I do say unmindful things like a cuss word. I ain't gonna curse nobody, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? And so I feel
Oh, I know
like
what you mean.
so and
I
so
know
then
what you mean.
and so then it feels like, am I really being authentic by coming out with a, this children's line? And it was like my spirit was like, yes, because you made this promise to you. And where does this is where these colors and all this carrying on behind me, this tapestry, all this stuff, that's where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't let that part of me, I didn't go to school to be an artist. I'm self-taught with colors and all these other things. And I just never kind of cared. I just did it. And I tell other people, I'm like, listen, there's something inside of you that gets to live. Whatever that dream is. I'm talking about the most innocent, authentic dream that a person has. I'm not talking about something they saw, something somebody told them they should be I'm talking about
Yeah.
the thing that pops up and it gives them a rush. And the thing that they think that's something that's calling them, and they're like, how can I possibly do this? Who am I to do this? And it's like,
Yeah.
you are you to do it. And it's calling you. Your dreams are calling you. They're echoing for you. And I think Chadwick Boseman and other people, the difference between Chadwick Boseman and Kobe Bryant, to me, is not much.
Mm-hmm.
Tragic passings for Kobe and his daughter. Chadwick was coming to peace with it, but they didn't leave nothing on the court. They left
Mm-hmm.
they left
Yeah.
here empty.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least with their talent. I don't know about their emotional mental space, whatever. But they left here empty. And I think it's important for, even if you live to be 100, that's a drop in the bucket for the eternities. There's no time. You know what I mean? And so you get to do what you came here to do.
Yeah.
As best as you can.
Yeah. And that's like, even in the beginning when I talked about those boxes that people have around creativity, it's the same thing around goals and dreams, as if there's like only an adult version of what is an acceptable dream or goal. And when you talk about, and when you experience, I mean, I'm actually in a similar season where it's just like, oh snap, things just start pouring out, and it's all the things. And it's so like it just happens. And then you realize how insignificant and pointless these boxes are. Because when you're really in the flow of true creativity and expression, now I'm not saying you have to be an artist with everything, but I mean just as a human being expressing your soul, and that expression is just coming out. It could come out in any myriad of ways. You might wake up from a dream and say, okay, that's weird, like that's how I'm supposed to do this, okay. And then, oh, and then I'm supposed to do that too. Oh, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And next thing you know, you are living to your fullest capacity. But most of the time, it looks crazy to everybody else in the world. They're like, what exactly are you doing? Listen, I'm doing what I'm called to do. And if I'm called to do all of these things, then that's literally what I'm doing, and that's it. And so I love that, because it's like, I mean, I don't know about your children, but I know about mine. They have no fear. They say what they want to say. Honey, they wear what they want to wear. They feel what they want to feel. And it can be perplexing at times. But I think that as parents, or for me, I'm one of those parents that's just like, I will stock the closet. You might have some costumes in there. You'll definitely have your day-to-day wear, but however you put it together, at least to like 8 years old, I love watching just how they, because it's literally an expression of their soul, their spirit, how they feel about a thing. And I often think about my oldest, who is a young woman at this point. She's about to be grown. And it reminded me of a little bit of the energy of your book. But she wore a pink princess costume dress with like tulle and a train, with jeans with holes in the knees, Chucks, and all along the tulle of the dress were always like leaves. So she looked like some sort of like earth
fairy,
forest fairy. And then whatever was happening up here, normally she had her locks and pigtails, little bobos or something, or a high pony or something like that. But when I think about the energy of what you're talking about, we would go for walks. She'd pick up a big stick that'd be about 5 feet tall, 6 feet tall, bigger than her, and she's just trucking along. Princess dress, jeans, chucks, leaves, just like climbing a tree in this outfit, doing what she wanted to do. Okay. And
That's
but I
freedom.
love that. That's free. Exactly. That's freedom. And back then, I don't know that I like thought so much about the outfit, but I always thought like, what is that? What are those characteristics going to become? How are they going to manifest into her character and her personality and things like that? And so today, this was a full circle moment. Um, Theater class, they had to come up with an outfit in 20 minutes made out of trash bags.
Mm.
It was cute, girl. I was like, oh, okay. Like it was the funniest thing. So there's this artist, I had not heard of her, but her name is Sia. And
Yes.
so
Mm-hmm.
she wears like bows and covers her hair and all this.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter had on the black trash bag with the red handles as straps,
All right now.
a belt, and then she did the white trash bag as the Sia bow over her hair. Like
Hey, go ahead.
I said, well, what? Okay, girl, you ain't lost it. Like you still got it, okay. But like seeing that manifest in, on her path, being interested in theater and in musical theater and things like that, and props and design and all of that. I guess now I'm like, it was like a moment today, like that little girl with the with
All
the
of that.
princess dress on, with the chucks and the this and the that, and just watching how it manifests. And it's still going to shoot further. There's so much more to be discovered about who
Absolutely.
she is. um
Absolutely.
but allowing just that
Yes.
can literally be like the foundation of, and should be the foundation of who your child is. Because I'm like, they come here with such strong sense of self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
society, family, whatever, manipulates and crushes that and tries to like mesh that into a certain thing, it changes. But then it's like, but then what is the definition of adulthood? What is
Yeah,
adulthood?
I think people get to kind of remove that word because that word has so much stigma with it, and I think it um, just keeps individuals from living from a space of absolute authenticity because they have some other thing burned into their head of what that is.
Right. Because I'm thinking about you, and you're saying, these colors, and it's childlike and expression, and it's from the source of my innocence. And I really just, I think about like what the world could look like if we maintain that connection and we break down those definitions, so to speak. Now, I don't mean in a crazy way, like you're not 35 and you're really 35, like I'm 4. No. But I mean, you know what I mean? Expressing and living from this like constant, continuous creativity that we came with, and allowing that to
Right.
evolve and guide us through these different phases in life and what that might look like. And so I'm just grateful when I see other folks like yourself that are living in that, your family living in that, and just what that looks like, the splash that you're making on the world because you're living from that space.
I honestly think that if people are allowed to, if they watch their children, you're still going to have accountants. There's still going to be lawyers. There's still going to be doctors. There's still going to be medicine people. You're still going to have that. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look different because just like with, you were talking a little before we came on about a rosemary bush or
Mm-hmm.
plant, right? Nobody had to tell that rosemary what to be.
Mm-hmm.
It knew what it was. It knew what it was going to be. You provided the space for it to be, to nourish it. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Whatever our children have come here to be, whoever we have come here to be, it doesn't always manifest because there's things that will shroud it, and things that people will, instead of putting fertilizer on it, they put raw sewage on it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it kills it, right? But if the child or the person is giving the opportunity at whatever point in their life for that to bloom, I'm a late bloomer. I don't think it was for me to know certain things earlier in life. But given the right environment, it came forth. And so I think that we'll still have whatever people are supposed to be, because that's what we need in society.
Yeah. And I mean, with my youngest, no matter what we do throughout the day, like just with that rosemary, picking the rosemary and infusing that oil, it was like, yes, and we're gonna sell this. Everything is a business.
Yes.
We're picking tomatoes out the garden. Yeah, we're gonna sell these tomatoes like at a stand.
All right, market. All right, market person.
Okay. But
CEO.
like you said, and then so today my comment was, you know what? You were always coming up with such great business ideas. One day you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be such an amazing business person. I can already see it because you have an eye for business no matter what you're doing, no matter
Right.
where we are. You're like,
Yes.
that's a business.
Yes.
I'm gonna sell this and I'm gonna package it like that. And it's so funny because there's always like a mini business plan immediately that just rolls off the tongue. So we should can the tomatoes and do this. And so to me, you're right. Like, those architects, those business people, the children that are great with numbers and science and all that kind of stuff, they're here already. Like, they're
Yes.
showing that. And you might be
Yes.
like, why are you interested in that already? Because that's who they are.
Yep. Yep.
Pure and truly who they are. And
Yep.
I love that so much. Um, you may have touched on this a little bit already, but and I'm sure as I'm thinking it's kind of already answered, but do you feel like the more that you have evolved and personally developed, the greater your capacity to be mindful has grown and developed?
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. I think about how when I would say in the depths of really intense struggles in my 20s and maybe early 30s,
Mhm.
um, to look back at who I used to be, there were a large part of me wasn't mindful. A large part of me was moving from a space of codependency, neediness, um, insecurity, needing and wanting validation, overachievement, which I really have just gotten a hold of this whole overachievement notion. I thought I was somebody just put things out, but no, it was based on what was the end goal and how it was going to make me feel. Whereas
Mm,
now I feel like, I guess I want to be a top performer or someone who just, let's see what happens. Let me do this. Let's see what happens. Let's see. It doesn't have to be world famous, like all,
yeah.
like that
Yeah.
thing. But yes, it's, and it causes me a lot less stress. I have a lot more peace in my life because how I move is from the most authentic space that I understand myself to be living in this moment,
Yeah.
and transparent. Does that make sense?
No, it does, because I'm thinking like you're saying a lot, and I'm like, yes, honey, yes, yes, yes. Reflecting back and being like, was I even thinking? Like, how was I
Oh God.
thinking in those seasons? Like, what was going on? But it's not so much that I didn't have thoughts. It was that I wasn't present. I wasn't authentically present. I wasn't connected. I wasn't mindful. And so every experience obviously contributes to who I am today. And I don't want to uh, get rid of any of those experiences.
Absolutely.
But that awareness of like how much more rich life becomes when you're actually in it and you're present and you're aware. And even that stress piece, because when you are connected though and you're intentional, you get to choose so much more.
It
and how it
literally,
affects you, because you're like, it's not like happening to you, and the world isn't, happening to you. And I can't believe that we've lived under some of those levels of stress that we've lived under for as many years
right? It's true.
that we
It's
lived
true.
under them. I'm like,
It's true.
fam, I should have had a heart attack. I could have had a heart attack,
It's
you know?
true. Thank
Um,
God. Thank God we didn't.
yes, and I'm grateful to be on the other side. But I often think, like, even in doing this series, it's really to highlight how much freedom comes when you are actually mindfully connected on a deep soul level. I'm not talking about holding a grape in your finger and, oh yes, it feels like this and then it's useful. Don't get me
Right.
wrong.
Right.
But
You
like,
know,
like we have to go deeper than that.
what you just what you just really plugged me into was that I spent so much time rushing to become
Mm,
and not being so fully, like right now I'm so fully in this moment with you. I'm so fully in the moments in my life now that when I said earlier there's peace, I remember being in a space in my life where that day wasn't enough. One day wasn't enough because it wasn't getting me to the place where I didn't feel like, I was like, I just can't wait to get to this place, where I have this and I have this. And the thing that, and it wasn't a material thing I was looking for.
yeah.
It was what I feel now in my life is an immense amount of love and peace for myself, for other people, with other people, within this world.
Yeah.
And it just hit me when you were talking that I finally got here. Like I'm not rushing to get to this place anymore. That I'm fully absorbed in the moments that I have with my children and my husband and with myself. And yes, there are days where it's challenging and it's hard because I'm a human being, but I love my life. I love my life so much. And there was a time when I didn't. And so I appreciate you like just reflecting this because I was like, my God, yeah, that was hell.
Yeah. Woo! We're here though, right?
Yes, yes.
And I think that's the beauty, is to be like, that was real,
Yes,
and I'm here and it's possible.
yes, yes,
And that is so sobering,
yes.
uh, and humbling, and so beautiful that we made it to this space, right?
Yes.
Because we don't have to be in this space. Um, and I know what you mean, honey, because I'm there. And listen, I'm over here like in my throat, like, don't make me cry. Don't. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. Um, but when you do consider and reflect on that emptiness and that disconnect and that dissatisfaction, and then you feel how overwhelmed and full of love you are and how connected you are, and it's like, to know that who you are right now is who you were chasing. Who I am right now is who I was chasing, and
Yeah.
how grateful I am that I made it to myself. you know
Yes.
and I'm laughing about it, but that's real talk.
It is real.
you
I'm laughing
know
because there were days I didn't think I was going to make it to this place. And
yeah.
I really think I think that I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think it's so important for people to know that they can get there.
Mm-hmm.
and that it's not something that's unattainable. It's not some Shakti Gwaine or Oprah Super Soul, no offense, Sunday. It's not this when the money comes or when the all the stuff is paid. It's literally peace.
Yep. Yep. Amen. It absolutely is. And
It's
that's
peace.
so much more simple than I think we thought it was.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Because I can look around at my life, I haven't arrived. You can look around at your life and you might feel like, okay, you haven't. But in terms of those things that people think, like when I'm a
Yes.
millionaire and I have no concern for this or that, or, when these perfect outside, these perfection is in my exterior, that
Right.
I will then be at peace. And it's like when you realize, nah, it's so much more simple and it's within. And then you get to exist in whatever that exterior experience is,
Yes.
a different person, connected and appreciative of what you're connecting to differently. And I just, I can't remember. And I want to say, so around December, January, I started to feel like I made some sort of social media post. And when I went back and saw it, I was like, oh man, I did not even know we was about to embark on this. But I was saying, I referenced the transition in birth right before the baby is getting ready to be born, and
Mm.
how I just felt like I was entering into that space. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. But this is the season I feel that I'm in. And then I was like, my heart feels like it's broken open,
Mm.
but it doesn't feel like it's broken. It doesn't feel broken
Right.
like it did in the past, where you experience pains or heartbreaks and things like that. And it's about an isolated instant or a moment. I was like, I feel like my heart has cracked open and it's
Hmm.
staying open.
Right.
And I was uncomfortable with that initially
Mm.
because this is a lot of vulnerability,
Yes.
right? You have to protect that vulnerability. Um, but I was like, so it's not like, can I force it? Like, and I realized that the wholeness and the peace is actually not from being like this with my heart
Mm.
fully intact like this. It's it being cracked and broken open
Hmm.
to experience and to
Hmm.
share experience, to give and to receive from this
Yes.
open space. This is actually the positioning of true peace and true love. And that I
Mm.
hadn't actually even ever experienced it. And because you're vulnerable,
Hmm.
it can be uncomfortable, but it's also so deeply connecting that it don't
Hmm.
even make sense. Like you
Yeah.
just out here like love, like pure bliss. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can't, you of course you have to be with boundaries and you have to be mindful, but the feeling
Yeah.
of being broken, oh, and I was just like, this is incredible.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've honestly never felt like this in my life.
Hmm. Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
But I'm grateful for it, and learning like the nuances of that vulnerability.
Hmm.
And so when I think about the creative space that you described earlier, that's what I envision too, where it's like that portal that you said, it opens up and it's like cracked open
Hmm.
and it's just whoosh.
And it doesn't ever. I think, in my own personal experience, it doesn't close. again, like my happen, there might be times it might contract maybe a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been open. And in fact, for me, it what you said resonates in terms of the heart being cracked open. That happening is it's almost like a sorry, it's almost like a you
Plug.
still there? It's almost right. It's almost like a death
Mm-hmm.
because you can't go back. There's no way you can go back to what you used to be, who you used to be. It that bliss. Once a person experiences bliss, you're like, well, I don't know what I was feeling before. I don't know what that was. I thought I loved people. I think maybe I just tolerated them. It wasn't. It's not the same. It's not the same recipe. It's a different. It's a different recipe.
Yeah.
It's a
And
different feeling.
it's so real. Like I can't even I'm trying to articulate it, and I'm grateful that I'm talking to you about it because I know that you understand. But you be out here like, um I love you. And people are like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I want the highest and best for you forever and ever. And, everybody, like all the things. And it's just
Everybody,
like, okay. Like, no, really. Like, it's true
it's true.
from the depths of
Yes,
my heart and my soul.
yes.
And, so again, just, practicing, uh, just living in that space because I just never had before. But that feeling though, like it is so, um, and I don't. It's not just about humans. It's like the air feels different, the sun feels,
Everything.
everything feels different, and I'm like connecting to every single being in vibration
Mm-hmm.
on that level,
Yep.
and it's like, huh, okay. I had moments before, Reva, a little buzz here, a little buzz there, of being like, oh, this is life now. Oh,
Yes.
okay, all right, okay, I can dig it. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I feel like even when I'm looking at your work, even when I'm listening to your story, even when I mean, we haven't even talked about the home accessories and everything that you honey, we didn't even delve into that. You just so kindly skipped over that. We're gonna get to it, but it's like what's in your soul is coming out and splash, 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 splash on the
Yeah.
tapestries, on the
Mm.
pillows, on the chairs, the couches, honey, whatever. I seen some stuff on there like, okay, all right, I see you in the book, in the children, and the husband, And so thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, if
Oh
I
wow.
haven't said it, for honoring that flow and letting us observe what that looks like on the other side. Um because it's healing. It's healing to see, it's healing to experience, and it's just funky fly, period. So,
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. I
you
do it
know.
for I feel like I used to do it for me, but now I feel like I do it for we, and I do it for the we that it resonates with. And even those that it doesn't resonate with, they getting something from it. Even when they see it, they getting something from it. Like, why is that blue so blue like that? Because you need it. Because it's medicine
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me on here, and thank you for
Yes.
holding this space. And this is such a healing and powerful space that you're creating. And I wish you much success in so many more interviews with so many awesome, dope creatives, authors, mothers, fathers, whomever that you're guided to speak to, because I think that it's
Absolutely.
important. I feel like it's really important in a day where everybody feels like because they breathe and they can have a podcast, that's cool. But I think that I'm not trying to be shady. I'm really not. But I think that some things become contrived,
Yeah.
and this is not a contrived space. And there are people who do things, they're like, how is this the quickest I can make this money and do this? And I'm like, but you pimping. this thing. It's no longer sacred anymore. It's no
Yeah.
longer heartfelt. It wasn't heartfelt. It's like it becomes almost feel to me it's a intense word, but perversion of
Yep.
what it gets to be.
Yeah.
You know, I wish those people well too, but it's a different type of thing, and people get to really be um, honest with what it is and why they're doing a thing.
Yeah.
You know, because peace, you don't have to go to yoga to get peace. You don't have to meditate 2 hours a day to get it. I mean, if you got some real intense stuff going on, please don't knock yourself out, but indulge yourself. But but it just comes through the awareness, the mindfulness, the being in the moment, and deciding that one no longer wants to be who they are in that moment, because who they are, there's some deep and grave suffering that's happening and occurring for them. And if that's therapy, if it might be a short run on some meds, if it might be whatever it is for
Mm.
that person, but get to your goodness, get to your happy, get to your joy, get to your bliss, get
Yeah.
to your wonder. It's there. It's not outside of us. It's right
Yep.
in here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just
No, and I mean, honestly, so this is season 2. Um, when I just started this in April. This was
okay.
this is a COVID baby. This is my COVID baby, okay?
Wow.
And so it was like personal reflections, kind of what you're talking about, like, experiencing the loss of my grandmother, the loss of my
Mm,
uncle.
mm,
It was like, okay. I just had these ponderings and these thoughts. And so all of season 1 was just that, just me.
mm,
But as I started, I thought, and I'm like, there's a level of healing and mindfulness that I experienced just doing that.
mm-hmm,
And I tend to have these kind of conversations when I link up with people.
mm,
We
mm-hmm,
talk like this, like how we're talking right now. I'm
mm-hmm,
asking questions. It may not be these types of questions, but sometimes it really is. We're like, and I'm a one-on-one person. I'm a one-on-one person in my real life. I like to get up with tea or whatever. And I'm just like, so as spirit leads me, I want to have these conversations and find out, like, I'm watching these people and I'm having my own experience. And I can see there's a synchronicity there that is connected to some level
mm,
of intentionality and mindfulness. And
mm.
it's not the kind that we're seeing packaged up and sold, like you said, at these yoga studios and
Right.
in the school system now. We're going to have mindfulness training. And I'm not knocking those things,
Absolutely.
because I do think that those practices can be very foundational and helpful.
Absolutely.
Um, and we can go deeper.
Yeah.
And I don't actually have any expectations. Like, whatever comes out and whatever is shared, that hopefully, prayerfully, there's someone in this world that hears it
Mm,
and resonates with it, or gets some level of healing with it, or we talk and different things come out and we're like, oh my goodness, like, okay, and I'm gonna walk away from this conversation thinking about some things. Maybe you'll walk away thinking about some things, and the ripple of healing and mindfulness will just continue.
mm.
And that's my desire. And so I appreciate you um, sharing this space and being in this space.
Well, thank you.
Um, and so, as we wrap up, if there's any words of encouragement, um, anything that you would like to say, and then to close us out, I would like for you to share with people how they can support you, where they can find you, and all of your goodness, your weirdness, your sweet weirdness. Um, lay that out for us, because I really also want people to be able to support and to see all of
Absolutely.
the awesome people that are in this world that they may not know, and support what it is that they're doing. So
I would just say, we have this one life in this lifetime. And whoever watches this, whatever it is, even if you have a career, whatever it is that's still calling to you, Spirit has been putting this on me to say this all week. I've been saying it in posts. Do it. Don't leave no stone unturned. You could do something, and just like you were saying with the copper, there's something that you could do. It might only be for a season. It may only be for 6 months or a year. It might even be stand-up comedy or something. Just something just to say you did it. You always want to know, what would that be like? Do it. I saw my kids, they were racing today, and my second oldest, she was upset. She's kind of petite like me. She's short, got short legs and stuff. And our oldest, he has very long legs. And she was like, he said he was going to let me win, and he didn't let me win. I was like, you want him? I was like, you want him to let you win? She was like, yeah, because I'm always losing. And I was like, you're not always losing. I said, did you race? And she said, yeah. I was like, so you won. You won just by the mere fact that you went out there and did it. The only way you can lose is if you never even attempt to do it. So that's what I got for the people. Just do it. Whatever it is. If it brings you joy and happiness, and the best way I feel nourished is by doing something and other people get something out of it, And we're all here to share in that way. We're not islands. No one can read our minds. No one can do that work for us but us. Whatever it is, whatever that work is. But get in touch, as Cat Williams would say, with your star player. That is the truth.
Yeah. Yes.
And people can, I have Sweet Wyrdness, SweetWyrdness. And weird actually doesn't mean strange or different. The original meaning of weird is fate, destiny. So sweet fate, sweet destiny, sweet weirdness. Then Weird Wonders, WYRDWONDERS. Daggone it. WONDE. And so Weird Wonders, and that's the name of our toy company. And then that's pretty much it. And all my other info was on those pages.
And so do they find Yay Sweetwaters and the Mean Mermaids?
Yes, Yay Sweetwaters and all of her friends so far are at Weird Wonders. We are moving it all over to Weird Wonders. And then Sweet Wyrdness is where you can get the home decor. Yeah.
All right, family. So this was a wonderful, wonderful session with Mama Ananda Free. I will talk to you guys next time, and thank you again for joining us for the Indijeroo Podcast.
Thank you